All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Want to introduce ourselves, I guess?
Sure.
Okay.
So,
All you.
all me. Okay. Hi guys, my name is Kasha. I'm one of the team members on the alumni engagement team, and me and Kenny are partners.
All right. I'm Kenny, class of 2025. Polymer, you see him his. Yeah, that's about it. Cool. All right. And then before we begin the presentation today, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge the lands upon which we are settled. We are coming from many places today, and we want to acknowledge the ancestral homelands and traditional territories of indigenous peoples who have been here since the time immemorial, and to recognize that we must continue to build our solidarity and kinship with Native peoples across the Americas and across the globe. Yale University and Asian American Cultural Center, located in New Haven, Connecticut, acknowledges the indigenous peoples and nations, including the Mohican, Mashantucket, Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Skedicok, Golden Hill Pocasset, Niantic, the Quinnipiac, and other Algonquin-speaking peoples have stewarded through generations the lands and waterways of what is now the state of Connecticut. We invite you to reflect on the relationship between Yale and these lands upon which we sit, and consider one commitment you will make to support Native peoples. We also acknowledge that this country would not exist if it was not for the free and enslaved labor of Black people. We honor the legacy of the African diaspora and Black life, joy, and knowledge. All right, cool. And then, yeah, let's get started.
Sure. Cool. All right, guys. So we are here today to speak about the Spring Break Externship sponsored by the AACC. And so regarding the AACC is paired up with AYA, which is the Association of Asian American Yale Alumni. So this is our sort of alumni branch that we as the alumni team work with of Asian Americans that have been graduated from Yale, whether they're from Yale College, Yale Med School, Yale School of Public Health, all of the sort of Yale affiliated schools. And with this Spring Break Externship, we are partnering with them and working with various alumni. So here's Austin. He's actually the director of AYA. And we have various other alumni that are associated with AYA, and that we're going to explain to you how they will get involved with us through the AACC through SBE, the Spring Break Externship.
Yeah, cool. So the Spring Break Externship purpose is kind of threefold. Number one, we want to give students here at Yale, specifically Asian Americans here at Yale, professional experience. Because I think a lot of times it's hard to get networking, and I think networking is something that is very difficult for a lot of incoming students. I know for me, coming from my background, like my parents weren't very well connected, and so just number one is be able to provide that professional experience in a setting that's not obviously very official. So obviously the Spring Break Externship only spans across 1 or 2 weeks within your spring break in March. So obviously it's not like a full-scale internship, but you will be able to build those connections, which follows into the next point, which is alumni engagement. So obviously, the AACC wants to continue its engagement with the alumni here. I think that's something that Yale has been struggling with in the past, is making sure that we stay connected with the alumni. So this is one way, because alumni are always very eager to help out. It's just reaching out and be able to connect to them is the difficult part. So this kind of bridges the gap. So the AACC offers the externship, to be able to provide and match students to alumni sponsors. And then obviously number three, we want you guys to be able to explore different opportunities. So you don't have to apply to an externship that directly correlates with your professional or academic interests. There's a lot of different opportunities that we'll go into later, but just it's an opportunity for you guys to explore both maybe in something that you're interested in, a career field that you're interested in, or just anything else that you think is cool or unique, or that you would think is worth your time.
All right. So I can give you some few details about how the Spring Break Externship is going to work. And since our spring break is 2 weeks, each externship is going to be 1 week long. So we created a sample schedule about what a day in the life of an extern will look. Now, obviously, it's going to be dependent on who the extern sponsor is and what maybe specific details and duties you'll have. But we've left sort of a vague idea of what you could be doing as an extern. And like I said, it's going to be 1 week. And depending on the extern, it could be more than a week. But as of now, this is sort of a general idea of what you should expect. So like the first day, you're getting an introduction with your sponsor, and you're meeting with them and seeing sort of what they do, and the general overall idea of what duties you're going to be assigned, and what sort of plan of action you're going to have for that week. And after that, we have a sort of a project one detailed, as in what is going to be your first main task, starting, let's say, as a Tuesday. And after that, as we go on, there'll be a lot of flexibility, but this is sort of our general schedule we've made. So it's going to be a pretty packed week. You're going to be very busy, but you're going to be doing something you really enjoy as we match you with the externship.
And so obviously coming out of COVID, I don't think we mentioned it before, but this is the first year since 2019 that the externship is being held. Obviously, due to difficulties with COVID, it's been very difficult to find locations that are able to sponsor externs in a safe place. Let me just fix this for a second. There we go. Yeah. So I think this year, we were struggling about that with a lot, which is getting alumni to respond, and just finding sponsors who were able to confirm that they were able to host one or more externs. So obviously, this is a very, very packed list. So this year we have a total of 10 externs or 10 total sponsors, which I think is really, really exciting. Actually 11, but 10 total like locations or opportunities that you guys can be a part of. Just quickly going over them. Obviously there's a lot of different fields and a lot of different opportunities for what you might be going into. So for instance, there's business, architecture, biotech, tech, like healthcare industry or surgery, and the nonprofit work towards the end. So anything, obviously, I think we'll talk a little bit more about the applications later on, but just a quick gist, you can select up to 3 of these and rank your top choices. So it's not like you're locked into any one of those. But yeah, these are the sponsors that we have today as of right now. And then we're still working to confirm the 2 in the like asterisks right there. Just a little bit about, confirming details and we're into that. But yeah, so I guess, does anybody want like a quick overview of what each sponsor does? Would that be helpful? Yeah, cool. Okay. So just beginning from the top. So number 1, San Francisco 49ers, which I think is really cool. Allison Liu, who graduated from Trumbull College in 2011. She's been a very like consistent sponsor with the externship. So obviously that's one opportunity there. It's more business oriented. I think she works with I'm not exactly sure what the name of it is, but she works in like the business oriented aspect of the franchise. And then we have Diana, who works with architecture, also Mai Wu, who's also in architecture. And then Jimmy Liu, who is actually Allison Liu's father. I guess not coincidentally, but Allison Liu's father. He's also been a very consistent sponsor. He works in biotech. This is actually his like new startup that he founded. So it's pretty interesting. He used to work for another company, but I think over COVID he launched his own company. So that's an exciting opportunity. And then Sheridan, who will be one of the virtual opportunities, because I think obviously again with COVID, it's difficult to be able to make sure that every single externship is in person, depending on like different company policies and whatnot. So Sheridan's will be one of the opportunities that will be virtual. He works with Imanist IIO, which is like a very like cool healthcare tech like startup thing. He also like delves into a lot with like blockchain, NFTs, like cryptocurrency. So if you're interested in that, that's also something you need to look out for. Let's see. Dr. Pathy is a plastic surgeon and cosmetic surgeon located just in Connecticut. And then you have Gina Lai, who actually works for Yale in the University of Office Development. So she works a lot with like getting, funny enough, like alumni, like donors and sponsors and stuff like that. And then we're working to confirm for a couple more. But Alex Chan works for Amcor, which is like a big business firm where he works in the business aspect of Amcor, which I think is like a shipping company. And then there's Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation with Grant Din. Grant Din's also been a very, very consistent sponsor. They do a lot of really, really cool stuff with immigration within, the West Coast. And then there's a really cool opportunity at the bottom, which we don't really have a title for just yet, but it's like a DC externship like opportunity. So it's going to be co-led by 2 alumni, which is Rita Aarons and then Maria Lee. And so Maria Lee works as like she works on the software end of like nonprofit firms. And so I think Rita, she used to also work in the nonprofit sector, but now she works in retail. She like owns her own toy store, so it's really cool. And so they're like hosting like jointly a Washington DC externship experience, which should be really cool. I think they have like their own itinerary plan for like where they're going to bring you guys and like what you're going to do over the course of the week. So that should be really exciting. But yeah, we're just working to confirm details for that. Cool.
Yeah. All right. Oh, and just to add to the DC one, if you've never had a tour of DC, I think Rita said she'll give you a tour of DC on the thing. So what are we expecting from you guys? So now that you saw those different externships, and Kenny had mentioned that you can rank up to 3 of your favorite ones, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to match you to the best externship based on your interest, your skills, and what you think you are most capable for, so that we can match to the best one that fits your abilities, but also give everybody a chance to have an externship. The goal here is that we can hopefully match everybody to one so that nobody's left out. And in the application we'll be sending out Friday, one of the parts is going to be ranking those different externships. And like we showed you, there's a bunch of externships on the previous slide, but we may get more depending on if we get more approved sponsors.
By Friday. Off to Friday. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So after you rank your top 3 externships, there's going to be another page on the Google form that's going to ask you for your resume. And we're expecting just a max 1-page resume of your different, your Yale career and, things you've done that you think will help you sort of adapt to this specific externship based on your skills, your interests, etc. Then after that, you're going to give us an essay, 250 words max, about, what do you think you're going to gain from this specific externship? What are you expecting? What are your aspirations? What are your hopes? How does this specific externship, in terms of the specific field we're looking to, for example, if it's business or biotech or whatnot, what do you think you are trying to gain from this? And based on the extern sponsor and what their duties are and what they're trying to make you do, we will try to match that with your skills and hopefully make it as equitable as possible. And, make sure you have a really good time, because we want everybody to learn and explore their interests. Finally, I sort of mentioned it, but as the alumni engagement team, and especially working with the sponsors, we're going to try to match you to a specific externship. And your top choice isn't guaranteed, but that's why we're asking you to rank your top 3. And hopefully, you'll be ranked to ones that you'll be excited about. Yeah. Cool. And just to mention, the deadline for the form is going to be December 5th, 11:59, and we're going to be dropping that form this Friday.
Yeah. So we'll send out an email related to the application to anybody who's attended, like in the audience here today. We'll send a follow-up email with the application just to notify that, you guys, that the application's open. You'll have obviously all of break to do it. You'll also have the extra week after break. So, if you're traveling and, going on vacation, you won't be like swamped or unable to do it. And then just to be like a little bit more transparent about like the selection process, the way that we typically do it, or the way that it's been done in the past, is that we'll give like the applications. We won't give the rankings by any way. So like the sponsors won't see if you like rank them 3rd or like 2nd or something like that. But we'll send all the applications to the sponsors. So for instance, if you picked like, 3 sponsors, say you picked like Allison, you picked Jimmy, or you picked Grant, and then we'll send your applications, those 3. And then out of the pool of the applications that they get, they'll send us like who they think they want, who they would think would be the best fit for their location. And then out of that, we'll try to like mix and match, to, give them, because I think the end goal here is to make sure that most amount of people, and hopefully everyone that does apply, is able to be matched to an extern. Obviously this year we have fewer externs than we have in the past because of, issues with COVID, but I think we're going to try our best at the AACC to make sure that everyone has an opportunity when it's all said and done. Yeah, cool. And then for funding, so we have a limited amount of funding set aside for those receiving financial aid from Yale. Since we haven't done the externship in a while, also because the Yale endowment has grown significantly, we do have more funding than we have in the past. But obviously, so the way that funding works is that after, or if you need financial aid, after the application drops, there'll be a little segment on the application noting that if you are going to apply for financial aid, if you were to receive an externship, and then that application will drop later, sometime in January, when like the results come out. And so that application will just be, listing off like your financial status, your financial aid needs, and then what you think will be, most necessary for the AACC to cover. And then we will work with you to make sure that we can provide, cover the costs wherever it's necessary. So for instance, obviously we just want you to be mindful that, any extra cost above our funding limit will have to be, coming out of your own pocket. But we will try our best to make sure that everything that is necessary, even up to like stuff regarding to like meals and stuff like that, just to give you like a meal allowance. Anything up to that is, covered by the AACC, because obviously we want to make sure this is an equitable experience, and that everyone has, a chance to be able to go to the opportunity that they want. And then obviously we'll have more details relating with financial aid and stuff if you were to be accepted, and then we'll send that directly to you after the application results come out. And also there's gonna be like frequently asked questions section on our website, so you can always check for that. Yeah, cool.
All right, and just to quickly add on to the funding portion regarding housing, right? So you're going to be staying 1 week in some city in the United States for this externship, and in the past, sometimes the sponsor, themselves have offered, housing. So if you get lucky enough, you can stay with the sponsor, or you might have found your own housing. Depending on that, AAC is going to facilitate this and help you out. Just for future reference. But again, like as Kenny said, we're going to send more details on funding and housing and travel and whatnot. So extern expectations. So now that you've chosen an externship, you've been matched, what is your goal? So part of it is that you are, representing Yale, you're representing the AACC, and you're going into this more for professional development. You're trying to maybe gain a skill, improve a certain skill, but at the same time, you're exploring and you're learning. So we want to make sure that you are using this valuable mentorship from an alumni and actually using this, wisely, right? You're going to be spending a whole week. It's not that much time. And, we want to use this externship as an incentive really to maybe explore further interests, maybe do an internship, maybe even stay in contact with this alumnus that could help you out in the future. And then after you do this externship, we're expecting everybody to write a program reflection. And we're going to send more details out about that, about more so what did you learn? How did this help you? And do you think, is this a field you're going to go into? Maybe this helps you rule out that maybe this is not what you're interested in. So that's part of really understanding that you actually learned something and you were, doing this externship for really a purpose. And lastly, there will be an hour orientation in the spring when everybody's matched on, again, going over these expectations, what's going to go really down in your externship, and how you can make the most out of it.
Yeah. And then also within the write-up, the purpose of that is also just to be able to reflect on our end to make sure what can we do better, not only just within the externship opportunity as a whole, but the minute details of just matching students to alumni. So how can we better our process on the alumni engagement team end to make sure this Spring Break externship continues to grow and expand in the future. But yeah. And then cool. If you have questions, always email us at alumni.aacc@gmail.com. You're always free to shoot me or Kashish an email. I think it's literally just our name, so Kenny.Lee. Yeah. Yeah. So the timeline that we have a tentative timeline that might be slightly outdated on the website, but we do have a tentative timeline, and so you can follow that. So I think typically the whole application selection process will be happening during December and probably through early January. And then our goal is to get the results out as soon as people start trickling back into campus. So I think that would be mid to late January. And then after that, if you need financial aid, that application will go out immediately afterwards. Yeah. Cool.
I mean, it's open for any questions.
Yeah.
General.
Cool. Anybody on the Zoom have any questions?
I do have a question about housing. So you mentioned that maybe the alumni would help you find housing, or you have to find housing on your own. Do you know how that would look like?
Yeah. So the process for finding housing is going to be a little bit different than transportation, obviously. We're a little bit less cut and dry than finding transportation. So typically in the past, there's been multiple ways that students have acquired housing for the externship. Sometimes the sponsor who's hosting the externship itself is able to provide housing for you. And that would obviously be the best case scenario because then they could provide transportation for you. Also, there's opportunities to find other alumni within the area. So for instance, Austin Bike, who's the president of AYA, he's always been open to hosting students during that great period. And then obviously if it needs be, and then you need to find outside housing, we'll work with you to be able to find anything that is suitable for the situation. Basically, it's a very give and take situation. So we'll work with both the sponsor and you, which to be able to facilitate communication, make sure that you're able to find some place to sleep. Yeah, and then you're not just hovering around in the city for a week. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. And just to add on to that, part of the really cool part of the AACC being in this relationship with AYA as a whole is that the externs themselves isn't AYA, right? That's just part of AYA. And there are different AYA directors across the United States that are, their goal is to facilitate, especially the Spring Break externship with the alumni engagement team and AACC. So, I wouldn't worry too much about housing because there's so many people ready to help you, especially with the AACC, different directors of AYA. So it won't be a problem. We can guarantee that.
Yeah. Also, since we try to get results out as soon as possible in January, we want to make sure that there's enough time to be able to facilitate finding housing and transportation, and making sure if you do need transportation to go to somewhere that's further away from where you live, it's not outrageously expensive because you have to purchase it too close to the date. Also, if you look in the past, I can scroll back here. There are a couple externship opportunities that are located directly in New Haven. So in that case, I think we'll be working with Yale as a whole to see if housing is still open during the spring break. But I think obviously housing in that case might be more simplified, and so then financial aid or funding portions will probably be more related to meal plans and stuff like that. Cool. Do you have another question? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, kind of off topic, but I was just
Hmm?
wondering, is there something like this?
Traditionally, no. From what I know, I think the Spring Break Externship is like the overall goal of the Spring Break Externship is to provide that like mini experience of an internship within Spring Break. But I think obviously there's connecting with alumni is like something that we want to do on our own end too. So I think we'll be working to find ways that we can match alumni to students in a large capacity. Yeah. But not like in this like official format yet.
What's the
So I think the goal is that, like we said before, sort of trying to make sure everybody gets an externship, and so some of them have more than one spot, and the goal is that you might not get your top choice, but the goal is that everybody is at least like matched to one specific externship, so they get the opportunity to do it. So sort of, we don't, at least in the past, I don't think we've like rejected per se people unless there was some like really an issue with their application. But for the most part, we want to make sure everybody is lined up with.
It really just depends on like demand and like how many people apply and then how many sponsorship opportunities are available. Obviously this year we've had fewer opportunities than we had in like 2019 per se. So it just depends on like how much demand and stuff. The goal is obviously to provide the most amount of students an externship opportunity. So we don't really have like a hard like this is like we don't it's not like Yale admissions. We're like, okay, 4% admittance cap, that's like what we're going to limit at. There's not like a yield rate or anything that we're aiming for. It's we want this to be the most equitable and most accessible experience as possible. Yeah, so the application will be posted on our website beginning Friday. We'll also be sending up a follow-up email to each one of you in the audience today, just to make sure that you have access to it directly. But it will be on our website. So if you for some reason don't receive our email, you can always go check the AACC website. We'll send you an email directly through Yale Connect. Yeah, but yeah, if you just go on the AACC website under alumni, there's a tab for Spring Break Externship. So yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on Zoom? Any last remarks, questions?
Cool. And then obviously, if you want to like revisit anything that we said today, we'll be posting the recording and also I think the slides too. Definitely the recording will be on our YouTube page, the AACC YouTube page. Hopefully it will be also on our website as well. And then we'll have the slide deck presentation on the website as well. So if you have any questions related to anything that we mentioned today, you should be able to have access to it. And then more for the sponsors end, we'll have every single like detailed and all the alumni like externship opportunities on the website as well. In more detail, they have like they have sections for like descriptions for the externship, company descriptions, as well as like skills that might be helpful for you in that role. So all of that will be on the website under AACC, alumni, and then sponsor or Spring Break Externship.
So stay tuned for the application this Friday.
Yeah. Cool. Also, again, if you have any questions, feel free to email any of us. Yeah, always free to chat.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.